We spend thousands of dollars trying to make our homes impenetrable. We install high-definition security cameras that watch our front porches and record every movement. We buy heavy deadbolt locks for our front doors and reinforce the hinges. We set up expensive alarm systems that will wake the entire neighborhood and call the police if a window is broken in the middle of the night. We do all of this to protect our families, our children, and our hard-earned peace from the physical threats of the outside world. And yet, so many of us walk into our perfectly secure houses, close the heavy doors behind us, and feel an overwhelming sense of anxiety. We feel a heavy, suffocating tension in the air. Arguments erupt out of nowhere over the smallest, most insignificant things. A strange, unexplainable exhaustion settles over the family the moment they cross the threshold. We think it is just stress. We blame it on work, on the economy, on the children acting out, or on simple fatigue. But the spiritual reality is far more terrifying. The reason your alarm system did not go off is because the intruders did not come through the window. They came through the mind. They were invited in. Saint Bridget of Sweden, a mystic who was given horrifyingly clear and literal visions of the invisible world, saw exactly how this domestic invasion happens. In her revelations, she was shown a soul under active siege. But the attackers did not look like abstract philosophical concepts or vague clouds of bad energy. They appeared as 7 distinct, grotesque beasts, each one representing one of the 7 deadly sins. Christ revealed to her that these are not just bad habits. They are demonic intelligences. They are specific spiritual entities whose sole purpose is to attach themselves to a human weakness, enter the soul, and by extension, completely contaminate the physical environment where that soul lives. Saint Bridget described the soul as a fortress, a beautiful castle meant to be inhabited by the Holy Spirit. But when the human will consents to a persistent sin, it is as if the drawbridge is lowered and the iron gates are thrown wide open. Your home is the physical projection of your spiritual state. When you allow one of these beasts to plant its claws into your heart, you are effectively opening the front door of your house and letting it roam free in your living room, your kitchen, and your bedroom. You can have the cleanest floors and the most expensive furniture, but if the spiritual drawbridge is down, the stench of these entities will ruin every family dinner and poison every conversation. The most dangerous aspect of these 7 demons is their absolute subtlety. They do not announce their arrival with a scream or a poltergeist throwing plates across the room. They enter quietly, wearing the clever disguise of your own thoughts and your own justified emotions. Let us look at the first beast Saint Bridget saw, which is always the leader of the pack and the one that holds the door open for the rest. It is the demon of pride, often represented in spiritual literature as a roaring lion, but it rarely roars when it first approaches your house. Pride enters your home through the tiny crack of an offended ego. Think about the last massive argument you had with your spouse, the kind of argument that ruined the entire weekend and left a freezing, agonizing silence in the hallway. How did it start? It usually starts with a tiny, ridiculous disagreement, but the demon of pride steps in and whispers a specific lie directly into your ear. It tells you that you are entirely right, that you are being profoundly disrespected, and that apologizing would be a sign of unacceptable weakness. This demon feeds on the refusal to bend. When both husband and wife are infected by this spirit, the house becomes a war zone of the silent treatment. The air literally feels thick and heavy, and children can feel this unseen predator pacing the halls. This is because the demon of pride consumes all the oxygen of grace. It makes you look at your family members not as precious gifts from God, but as obstacles to your own comfort and supreme authority. Saint Bridget saw that when pride takes root in a soul, the demon acts like a dark king, setting up a throne right in the center of the household, demanding that everyone serve its endless need for validation. If you refuse to say the simple words, "I am sorry," you are paying the rent for this beast to stay in your home. Before we uncover the second invisible intruder, that might be destroying the peace of your family right now, I want to invite you to stand with us in this spiritual battle. We are exposing the ancient tactics of the enemy that the modern world desperately wants to keep hidden and dismissed as myths. If you feel the weight of this invisible war and want to arm yourself with the forgotten wisdom of the saints to protect your loved ones, please subscribe to this channel today. And to actively claim your territory back, go to the comments right now and write a new declaration of defense. Type the words, "Lord, seal the doors of my home with your precious blood." This is not just a comment for an algorithm. It is a digital prayer and a heavy line drawn in the sand against the darkness. The second beast that St. Bridget witnessed in her terrifying vision is the demon of envy, often perceived in the spiritual realm as a venomous serpent. Unlike pride, which is loud, arrogant, and demanding, envy is a silent crawler. It slithers under the doorframe and hides in the dark corners of your house. In our modern age, this demon has found the ultimate Trojan horse to gain immediate, unfiltered access to your living room. That Trojan horse is your smartphone. You sit on your couch after a long day, surrounded by the beautiful family God gave you, a roof over your head, and food in your kitchen, and you open a social media app. You start scrolling, you see the perfectly curated, heavily filtered vacation photos of an old friend. You see the massive, spotless new house of a coworker. You see someone else's children achieving awards while yours are struggling with their homework. At that exact, vulnerable moment, the serpent strikes. It injects a tiny, highly concentrated drop of spiritual venom into your mind. It whispers that God has shortchanged you. It tells you that your house is too small, your car is too old, and your life is a massive disappointment compared to everyone else. Suddenly, the gratitude that should fill your home entirely evaporates. You look at your spouse and feel a surge of resentment because they are not providing the wealthy lifestyle you just saw on a glowing screen. You look at your children and feel frustration instead of unconditional love. The demon of envy does not need to steal your physical possessions. It achieves its goal by stealing your ability to enjoy them. It creates a phantom poverty in a house of abundance. Your home becomes a place of constant, bitter comparison instead of a sanctuary of rest. St. Bridget understood deeply that envy is the absolute assassin of domestic joy. When this demon is active in a house, no one is ever satisfied with anything. There is a constant, restless complaining that echoes off the walls from morning until night. The family stops praying prayers of humble thanksgiving and only prays prayers of angry demand, treating God like a vending machine that is unfairly withholding their rightful prizes. The serpent creates a highly toxic atmosphere where the success of a neighbor or even a relative feels like a personal, deliberate attack. This venom eventually seeps into the children, who absorb the bitterness and start competing ruthlessly with their peers, believing that their entire worth is tied to what they have, rather than who they are in the eyes of their Creator. We have now identified the lion and the serpent, the arrogance that breaks bonds, and the bitterness that poisons gratitude. But the invasion is far from over. There are 5 more beasts waiting in the shadows to cross the threshold, and the next one targets the very energy and physical health of your family, draining the life out of your home without you even realizing it. O Gemini, Disa, the third entity, St. Bridget observed in her harrowing visions of the compromised soul, is the demon of sloth, or spiritual apathy. It is often depicted as a heavy, lethargic bear or a parasitic leech that attaches itself to the spiritual spine of a family. This demon does not storm the house with violence. It sedates it. You feel its presence when a strange, paralyzing heaviness settles over your home on a Sunday morning. Suddenly, getting the family ready for Mass feels like an impossible, monumental task. There is always a perfectly logical excuse waiting on your tongue. You're too tired from the exhausting work week. The children are being difficult. The weather is bad. Or you simply need one day of the week just to rest and recover. But this is not a natural physical exhaustion. It is a highly calculated spiritual anesthetic. The demon of sloth convinces you that God can wait. that prayer is an empty exercise, and that your spiritual life is an annoying burden rather than an urgent lifeline. When this beast moves into your living room, the television and the couch become the absolute center of your family's existence. You can easily spend 5 hours binge-watching shows or mindlessly scrolling through infinite short videos. But the thought of spending 15 minutes praying the rosary together feels utterly unbearable and physically painful. The spiritual temperature of the house drops to freezing. The Bibles gather thick dust on the shelf. The holy water fonts dry up completely, and the family slowly, silently starves to death spiritually while being completely and constantly entertained. Saint Bridget saw that this demon drains the holy ambition from parents, making them neglect the grave duty of teaching their children about heaven, abandoning them to be raised by screens, algorithms, and a secular culture that hates their innocence. But where sloth brings a freezing, paralyzing apathy, the fourth beast brings a scorching, highly destructive fire. This is the demon of wrath, appearing in the spiritual realm as a rabid wolf or a charging boar, thrashing wildly and destroying everything fragile in its path. You know this demon has crossed your threshold when the entire atmosphere of your house feels like a room filled with leaking gas, just waiting for a single, tiny spark. Everyone is walking on eggshells. The most innocent comment from a spouse, a misplaced pair of shoes, or a simple childish mistake triggers an eruption of absolute, disproportionate rage. Doors are slammed violently, walls are punched, and cruel words are spoken that cut deep and can never truly be unsaid. Wrath is a vicious parasite that feeds directly on the adrenaline of conflict and the terrified tears of the innocent. It convinces you that your anger is completely justified, a righteous and necessary response to the incompetence and disrespect of everyone around you. But Saint Bridget warns that when you lose your temper and scream at your family, you are not just losing control of your emotions. You are temporarily handing the steering wheel of your soul over to a demonic entity. The home, which is meant by God to be a safe sanctuary, transforms into a psychological minefield. Children learn to hide in their rooms, terrified of the unpredictable explosions, and the marital bed becomes a place of cold resentment instead of a warm refuge. The demon of wrath wants to burn your house down from the inside out, using your own tongue as the match. If the descriptions of these invisible intruders are opening your eyes to the spiritual battles happening right now in your own living room, please take 1 single second to press the like button on this video. By doing this, you are telling the system to push this urgent warning to other families who might be tearing each other apart without realizing who the real enemy is. Your simple interaction helps us expose these ancient tactics and bring the light of truth into homes that are currently suffocating in the dark. The fifth beast that Saint Bridget witnessed attaching itself to the human soul is the demon of avarice or greed. In the spiritual ecosystem, this entity often resembles a bloated toad or a hoarding rat, obsessively clutching at earthly dirt while entirely ignoring the eternal treasures of heaven. When this demon enters a home, it completely changes the family's fundamental definition of security. It replaces a peaceful trust in divine providence with a terrifying, endless anxiety about money. The parents become utterly consumed by their bank accounts, their investments, and their career advancement. They work 80 hours a week, missing bedtimes and family dinners, convincing themselves they're doing it all for the family. But the tragic irony is that the family is completely abandoned in the process. The children might have every expensive toy, the newest gadgets, and the finest clothes, but they are starving for the actual physical presence and emotional attention of their mother and father. The demon of avarice whispers a continuous anxious lie that you never have enough, that financial disaster is always right around the corner. It makes you stingy with your charity, resentful when the church or the poor ask for support, and panicked when an unexpected bill arrives. The home stops being a place of generosity and warm hospitality and becomes a cold fortress of hoarding. Conversations around the dinner table revolve entirely around finances, purchases, and material upgrades, while the state of the soul and the life to come are never mentioned. Saint Bridget saw that the souls infected by avarice become heavy and completely tethered to the earth, unable to lift their eyes to eternity because they are too busy counting their coins in the dirt. This demon tricks well-meaning parents into building a massive financial empire for their children, only to leave those same children spiritually bankrupt and completely unprepared for the eternal realities of life after death. The spiritual integrity of the home has now been severely compromised by pride, envy, sloth, wrath, and greed. The defensive walls are cracked. The emotional temperature fluctuates violently between freezing apathy and burning rage, and the true treasure of the family has been buried deep in the mud of materialism. But the most intimate and destructive invasions are yet to come. The final two beasts St. Bridget saw do not just attack the mind or the emotions, they attack the physical body itself, twisting the most basic, God-given human needs and desires into instruments of absolute degradation and shame. And once all 7 of these entities have been fully identified, the crucial life-saving question remains of how to forcefully evict them, how to scrub the spiritual atmosphere of your rooms clean, and how to seal the doors with divine authority so they can never return to terrorize your family again. The 6th beast that St. Bridget witnessed in her terrifying catalog of spiritual invaders is the demon of gluttony, frequently represented in mystical visions as a ravenous, insatiable swine. Modern culture has severely downplayed this specific threat, reducing it to a mere joke about eating too much dessert at a holiday meal. But in the spiritual realm, it is a deadly force of total consumption. This demon does not just attack the stomach, it attacks the fundamental virtue of temperance, seeking to make the flesh completely dominant over the spirit. You know this beast has crossed your threshold when the entire coping mechanism of your family revolves around excessive, mindless consumption. When the marital tensions caused by pride and wrath become too heavy, the parents do not turn to prayer for healing. They turn to the pantry, the refrigerator, or the liquor cabinet. They pour another glass of wine to numb the anxiety. They order excessive amounts of food to fill an emotional void, and they consume an endless stream of digital entertainment until their brains are completely sedated. The dinner table, which God intended to be a sacred altar of family communion, a place of gratitude and storytelling, transforms into a silent feeding trough where everyone eats while staring blankly at glowing screens. St. Bridget saw that when the demon of gluttony takes hold of a soul, it makes the physical body heavy, sluggish, and completely deaf to the delicate, quiet inspirations of the Holy Spirit. A family enslaved by this beast loses the ability to fast, to sacrifice, or to endure even the slightest physical discomfort for the sake of a higher spiritual good. They become prisoners of their own appetites, completely unprepared for the rigorous demands of carrying the daily cross. But the absolute collapse of the domestic fortress occurs when the 7th and final beast is invited inside. This is the demon of lust, which St. Bridget and many other mystics describe as a foul, unclean goat, radiating a stench of profound spiritual degradation. This entity targets the most sacred spaces of your home. It aims directly for the master bedroom, the sanctuary of the marital covenant, and the bedrooms of your children. In our highly connected modern era, this demon no longer needs to wait in the dark alleys. It walks straight through the front door inside the smartphones, tablets, and laptops that we hand to our children without a second thought. It creeps in through late-night browsing, hidden browser tabs, and the hypersexualized media we passively allow to play on our televisions. When the demon of lust sets up its camp in a home, it destroys the very capacity for authentic, sacrificial love. It creates a horrific, isolating phantom intimacy. A husband or wife infected by this spirit begins to look at their spouse with a terrifying coldness, their minds polluted by the unrealistic, demonic illusions of pornography or secret digital emotional affairs. The spouse is no longer viewed as a precious soul to be cherished and guided to heaven, but as a mere object to be used and discarded. This demon strips the family of its inherent dignity, replacing the pure, life-giving love of the sacrament with a toxic, selfish consumption that leaves everyone feeling profoundly empty, ashamed, and desperately alone. St. Bridget saw that, of all the beasts, this one causes the deepest wounds, shattering the innocence of the youth and breaking the vows that hold the foundation of the home together. Now that you have seen the horrific reality of the 7 beasts that might be roaming your hallways right now, the most urgent question of your life is how to forcefully evict them. We are engaged in a brutal spiritual war for the souls of our families, and the enemy relies entirely on your ignorance and your silence. If this channel has opened your eyes to the invisible battles happening in your own home, and if you want to arm yourself with the deep forgotten weapons of the Catholic faith, I am asking you to stand with us and become a member of this channel today. For just $2 a month, an amount so unbelievably small that it is less than a cheap cup of coffee or a quick Uber ride, you can become a foundational pillar of this mission. Your membership grants you access to exclusive, members-only videos where we dive even deeper into these specific spiritual warfare tactics, giving you the practical tools you need to protect your loved ones. More importantly, your $2 helps us keep the lights on and push this life-saving truth out to millions of families who are currently being destroyed by these invisible intruders. Please click the join button below and help us reclaim the homes of this generation. The method to cleanse your home, the true domestic exorcism based on the revelations of St. Bridget and the unbroken tradition of the Church, begins with a radical understanding of spiritual legality. The devil is the ultimate legalist. If these beasts are in your house, it is because someone holding authority in that home gave them the legal right to enter through persistent, unconfessed sin. You cannot simply spray air freshener to get rid of a rotting corpse, and you cannot simply think positive thoughts to expel a demonic entity. You must sever their legal right to be there. This starts outside the home, in the confessional. The parents, who are the spiritual gatekeepers of the domestic church, must fall to their knees and confess their pride, their wrath, their hidden lust, and their greed. The moment the priest speaks the words of absolution, the heavy iron chains that the demons use to anchor themselves to your family are instantly shattered by the blood of Christ. Once the soul is clean, you must physically and spiritually reclaim the territory of your house. You must walk through your rooms and brutally throw out the trash that is inviting the darkness. You must cancel the subscriptions that bring filth into your living room. Throw away the occult objects or books you thought were harmless, and smash the idols of your own vanity. Then you must bring the light back in. The demons of St. Bridget's visions cannot stand the presence of the sacred. You must sprinkle holy water in every room, praying out loud and claiming every corner for Jesus Christ. You must establish the daily family rosary, which acts as an impenetrable wall of fire around your property. When a family kneels together in the living room and invokes the Mother of God, the beasts of pride, anger, and lust are absolutely blinded and suffocated by her purity. They will flee your home in sheer terror. Your house was never meant to be a cage for the 7 beasts. It was consecrated by God to be a sanctuary of peace, a school of virtue, and a waiting room for heaven. Do not surrender your territory to the enemy for one more day. Rise up, clean your soul, bless your rooms, and lock the spiritual doors of your home forever.